Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent. Good evening, Malcontents. My name is David. I am the Malcontent, and welcome to another episode of Malcontentment Happy Hour. Today is Tuesday. Normally we do this on Monday. That's why I had to pause. Today is Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. It's getting dark earlier, y'all. Like 7:30 it was dark, and it's getting colder. It says we're on all four channels, Nora. Says we're on all four channels right now. We not on Facebook? Now you're making me paranoid. You're going to make me stop the whole show. Says I'm on Facebook right now. Oh my goodness. We have a lot to talk about tonight. One thing here I want to do is mute the phone. Something I've gotten really bad at just because things have been I'm not going to make an excuse. I've just gotten really bad at it. I just want to do a quick land acknowledgement. I don't have the words here in front of me. If you've been looking on the website, you might have even heard the keyboard furiously clicking away. That was me putting up the COVID update on Twitter, literally as the credits were rolling here. But I do want to do a quick land acknowledgement and acknowledge that Malcontent News and all of the staff are on ceded and stolen lands, and we acknowledge that. And we respect and honor the first peoples of here who were the stewards of the land. And we do everything we can to better care for the lands of the Puget Sound region. And I would mention, because we also have people in Oregon, certainly down in the Oregon area. And so with that, I am going to go ahead. Made you look. Yes, you did. Let's go ahead and dive into things. First of all, if you are new to the page, new to the show, because of all of the Epic software stuff today, we are going to talk about Epic software. We generally start diving in, talking about the COVID update, because this is a lot of what we are covering right now. This is a mixed bag. I think the last update we did, it was the last update or the update before, it was like, oh my God, there's just so much bad news. It's awful. This one, not so much. Things definitely could be a little better. Let me push that volume up a little bit. I'm just looking around. I realized I was fidgeting with my volume sliders on a conference call today. The ADHD brain. Washington State hit a grim milestone today. 7,000 COVID deaths since February 29. First COVID death was recorded February 9, 2020, not 2021. You're lying. There's been since 2020. Stop scaring people. Stop projecting your fears on me. Let's go ahead and dive into things here. There is good news. There's a lot of bad news, but there is good news sprinkled in here today. Today was the first real indication in a month, because we switched to kind of all COVID coverage all the time on the 17th of August. So we're about a month into this right now. And today was the first real sign, looking at the data, where I'm really feeling confident in saying for new cases, it feels like we've hit a peak. Basically, just about every school system in the state at this point is in session. We still have potentially up to 1 million people moving through the Washington State Fair in Puyallup. There's a couple other fairs going on, so there's still a little, right, of this. The other thing we have going on, everyone knows I'm a Red Sox fan. And, the Red Sox and the Mariners are kind of in a fight for the wild card. And as a Red Sox fan, I know that T-Mobile Park, a.k.a. Safeco Field, is a house of pain for the Red Sox. So I would say that the Mariners have more than just a chance to see the postseason, particularly if they can sweep my team. Anyway, we have potential for playoff games at T-Mobile. We have football starting. And yes, I know there's masks, but there's people that aren't wearing masks, and I don't even want to go in there. Let's get into the data. The state rate for the entire state was 500.8. Now, you might be looking at me and going, David, we've been in 500 to 535 since August. Like, I know. But let me get into the numbers here. For counties that are 50% or better vaccinated, so total population, that's for the total population, not for eligible population. For those counties, today is the first day that the number, which isn't adjusted for population, that's an important distinction, was 494 per 100,000. 494 new cases per 100,000 people. Again, not population adjusted. That's the first time that number's been below 500. I would have to look back through data a long time. King County dropped below 300 today. That's another positive sign, because I can't remember the last time King County was below 300. King County dropped to 295.4. Yes, King County is pushing 80% vaccinated for every, but what a shock, and the cases are going down. Oh, the thought. Yeah, I get that 295 isn't good, but King County represents 2.26 million people in the entire state of Washington. So it helps the entire. Now, for counties that are 40 to 49.99%, that is, they're at 747 cases per 100,000. That actually was a slight improvement from where they were yesterday. For counties that are under 40% vaccinated, they have dropped down to below 800. They're at 781.4. The other thing is the number of counties, there's actually a typo in there. I'm seeing it right now. I need to go back. It is 9 counties, not 19, that one needs to come out of there that are under 40% vaccinated. Now, let's kind of look at a little bit of the bad news. The South Central Hospital District, this is the district that have had 3 hospitals go, we're running out of options. One of those hospitals has said out loud, we're on the brink of going to crisis standards of care. That's the hospital in Yakima. That's Yakima Valley. The hospitals in Richmond and Walla Walla have said they're basically end of the rope. So the South Central Hospital region is Benton, Franklin, Klickitat, Walla Walla, and Yakima counties. They're at 883.3 per 100,000, and they actually got worse from yesterday. The reason I bring this up is that King County is the central hospital districts. Because King County is 2.26 million people, it is its own district. So you have this district that has literally got their medical system in collapse, the South Central District at 883. You got King County with 2.26 million people at 295. What's the difference? The vaccination rate. That's it. They're just messing with the numbers. Shut up and get vaxxed. Please shut up and get vaxxed. What we're seeing here is a tale of two states. In the counties where the vaccination rates are higher, what's happening is the cases are going down. In the counties where the vaccination rates are really low, cases are going down incrementally, but in the areas that are the least vaccinated, it is still a complete shit show. And what's happening then is they have to transfer these patients, and they're getting transferred over into Western Washington hospitals because Western Washington hospitals have capacity. And we're going to get into more about the transfer issue. It's important because there was a lot of outrage on social media, and some of it is because some of the news has not been accurately reported by some of the mainstream media, and some of it is just taking some information and running with it. For new cases, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is for 35 and older, new cases are flat or declining. For ages birth to 34, new cases are going up. Hospitalizations were flat, except for pediatric or adolescent hospitalizations. Adolescent hospitalizations were, which is 12 to 19 years old, they went up slightly. Everything else is flat. So we're looking at different data sets, and all of these data sets are indicating we might be at a peak. Now, USA Today COVID Tracker reported 63 deaths on Tuesday, and the state, as we let off, crossed the threshold of 7,000 COVID deaths since the start. Next thing I want to move on to is I quickly check your comments. Kimberly and Shelly and Dora and Marla and Dave. I feel like I'm just doing and Sidewalk Connoisseur Guy. I feel like I'm doing Romper Room, calling everybody out there. Edmonds Oktoberfest was canceled today. The Rotary Club of Edmonds puts on Oktoberfest. It was supposed to be on September 24 and 25. They made the decision based on the infection rates in Snohomish County to pull the plug on Oktoberfest. If you had bought tickets for Oktoberfest, you can request a refund by emailing David, not me, David at edmondsrotary.com. That's David at edmondsrotary.com, and they will process your refunds if you bought tickets in advance for Oktoberfest. Information came out in the Seattle Times. Approximately 4,800 state employees, the exact number is 4,799 for the pedantic. Approximately 4,800 state employees have asked for an exemption from the vaccine mandate. That represents about 8% of the government workforce in the state of Washington, which is about 60,000 people. Now, exemptions can be granted on religious or medical grounds, but the bar is really high, particularly if you're asking for something on religious grounds. And we actually researched this a little bit. And when we researched this, what we did is we did not go to a source where, okay, this was written in 2020 or 2021, where people have been asking for these exemptions, and then you have the potential to go, we're just pulling the rug out from under us, and they're saying. So we went to a source that was written more than a decade ago. The other thing is we did not go to a source that was like Bob's House of Religious Thoughts or anything like that. We went to academia. We found a source on Vanderbilt University. And the short answer to this is, of all of the major religions, and when we define major religions, this is beyond the Judeo-Christian religions and the religions that sprouted off of Judaism, which would be Islam. This goes into, Shinto and Hindu and like major religions. None None of them are like, no, you can't get vaccinated. Now, there are a few sects, sub-branches that do. The first one is Dutch Reformed. I don't even know what Dutch Reformed is. I never heard of it before until I researched this. And then there's a faith healing based religion. So Faith Tabernacle, Church of the Firstborn, Faith Assembly, the End Time Ministries. Now, there might be some people, you're wrong. Really strict Jews won't get a vax. Yeah, that's not true. It is true that for some vaccinations, there is porcine glycerin in them, glycerin made from pigs. And of course, immediately you would go, well, Islam and hardcore Islam, hardcore Jews are going to have a problem with this. In both faiths, years ago, this is not like current events, both faiths have gone, porcine gelatine in a medical setting is not edible. God wants you to save yourself if you're sick. This is fine. You're going to have to get into like ISIS-K, Taliban stream for, Islam, or really hardcore Zionists entrenched in the West Bank in a bunker with rocket launchers. This is the extreme, and we don't have people like that in the United States. So you're going to have to punt on that. What about the Church of Christ Scientists, aka you see these Christian reading science rooms? Although they are a strongly faith-based religion, in other words, they generally believe you should have faith and you should pray. They have no official tenet going, you should not seek medical care, and they have no official tenet on you should not get vaccinated. Now, I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Anybody who filled out an exemption going, well, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. Ha, I gotcha, because they don't do blood transfusions and they don't do vaccinations. That's a myth. Although some very, very extreme's the wrong word for a Jehovah's Witness. We'll say orthodox sects of Jehovah's Witnesses. A handful do. Jehovah's Witnesses stopped saying no to blood transfusions and vaccines all the way back in 1952. And in 2011, the faith actually made an official statement that included, essentially you could call it a condensed rewrite of Leviticus, pulling from a quote out of Exodus. And part of Jehovah's Witnesses' faith is kind of the literal translation of the Bible. One of the reasons they don't believe in Christmas trees, because somewhere in the Bible it says something like it's an affront to decorate your trees. And I'm sidebarring, sorry, but they essentially made a statement that was vaccines are part of, health and preventative care, and they're cool. So the bottom line is, I'm not up here saying, no, there's no religious exemptions. All I'm saying is the bar's not nya, the bar is nya. Nya, 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 nya. Screw you guys, I'm going home. So now we got to dig through the entrails, right? So how many state employees could potentially walk off the jobs? Well, first of all, the thing is, it's not going to be even. You're going to have in, say, Island County, San Juan County, Pierce County, Snohomish County, King County, far more people that are Thurston County. You're going to have far more people that are going to get vaxxed than, say, if we go and look at, say, Benton County or Yakima County or Franklin County or Ferry County. So it's not going to be even. We do know this. More than 80% of the Washington Federation of State Employees voted to approve and ratify a compromise agreement with the state of Washington on the vaccine mandate. Now, that represents 47,000 employees, not 60,000 employees. So, but that gives us an idea that the number is 19%, right? That's the max. The 19%, which would be bad. Although I did put this on Twitter earlier today, I don't understand why Republicans are upset about this, because Republicans complain about how big and bloated the government is and how many state employees there are and how inefficient is everything. And you think they would be very happy with a reduction in the number of state employees. But that doesn't serve their political agenda today. It will tomorrow. I digress. We know that 8% have asked for exemptions. So we know that it's not going to be 19% if 8% have asked for exemptions. We also know that there's going to probably be a small percentage, a very small percentage from that 8% that are just essentially going to call the bluff. They're either going to walk, they're going to early retire, or they're going to call the bluff. Fine, trying to fire me. But we know that's probably a very small number because there was a lawsuit filed on Friday to try to overturn the vaccine mandate. They have like literally no constitutional grounds on this because of Jacobson v. Massachusetts, and I've talked about that. The lawsuit is kind of dead end unless they find something in there. That lawsuit's a dead end. But there are only 89 people. So we know it's a really small group that's calling the bluff. So, my guess is 10% max are walking away. So 6,000. That's my guess. That's the worst case scenario. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And again, I think for some areas and some groups in some parts of the states, this is going to be devastating. And I think in other functions, other groups, other parts of the state, it's going to be meh. It's not going to be even. The other thing, though, that we are seeing is there are people that are, go, that's it. You're not the boss of me. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be. I will not be your monkey. And there's some people that are already like, wow, I thought it'd be real easy to find another job. There was a story down in Oregon about she's medical assistant. She was with Peace Health. She's one of the 400-ish people that said, I'm not doing this. Gave an interview because it's been almost 2 weeks now. And it's like, wow, it's been really hard for me to find another job because everybody wants me to get vaccinated. And she's not like in Portland. She's in a rural part of Oregon, and like shock of shocks. Like everybody wants me to get vaccinated. It's really hard. And then the thing that hurt my brain, I'm going to sidebar, and I'm feeling a little political tonight. The only thing was like, I went to school. I paid money for my education. I'm supposed to have a job. I'm like, wow. The only place that I know that the fact that you went to school gives you an automatic job is like Cuba or North Korea or the former Soviet Union. Okay, you finished school. You go build tractors now. That is what we've taught you do. It's like that. You just went from I'm libertarian. You can't tell me what to do. Medical freedom. I quit to I should have a job just because. It hurts my brain. The mental gymnastics they do. It hurts my brain. Yeah, no kidding. Going to school does not guarantee a job. Hello, reality. No kidding. All right, we've beat that one into the ground. Guess what's going to happen at Skyview School in Vancouver, Washington tomorrow? That's right. Screw you, court order. We're going to go ahead and protest again. And once again, Melanie Gabriel is the one that's muckraking all of this again. And once again, Michelle Morales-Walker is the ringleader behind this. And once again, Palmer Davis is the one that's promoting it on these cross-section of websites that actually are all interconnected to each other. I never did look up those websites to see how many of them are hosted on Epic. That'd be an interesting task for someone to look and see how many of these Washington State anti-vax websites are hosted or have their DNS through Epic software. Because then we're going to get to find out who the people behind the curtains are soon. So the thing going on in Vancouver here, guess who they're bringing? They're bringing Matthew. If you don't know who Matthew is Seattle's least favorite street preacher. You ain't God and you're a Jew and that's why you're saying that. No. Like Matthew is universally reviled by basically everybody. The Chuds had him arrested back in January or January or March. I know the Chuds had him arrested earlier this year for harassing them in Olympia. I've seen him arrested in Seattle. If you have ever been to an event in Seattle that had a large number of people there, doesn't have to be a protest. It could be a concert, a sports game, speeches, a parade. It doesn't have to be a protest. And Matthew invariably is there. And there's been a few times where I've just wanted, when I had poll cam and I just wanted to, dude, shut up. My God, just stop. This is dystopian. Just stop. Another thing, these people that run this, that are running amok down here in Vancouver, Washington, if you do some digging, they are literally the ringleaders behind almost every anti-vax protest in Washington and Oregon, border to border. I'm not talking the I-5 corridor, literally border to border. It's 5 to 10 people that are kind of pulling the strings on this. There's multiple websites, but when you do some digging, they're all interconnected to each other. They're all run by the same people. And those people are coming to Woodinville on September 25th. They're coming to Woodinville September 25th at 2:00 to Rooster's Bakery and Cafe. So I'm just putting it out there. If you're not into the anti-vax, anti-max thing, you go to Roosters. I'm a big fan of voting with your wallet. That's all I'm going to say. I really don't mean to piss on Puyallup Mayor Julie Doerr's cookies here. Puyallup Mayor, name's Julie Doerr, has set up a fundraiser to collect money to get Starbucks gift cards to distribute to the more than 2,100 employees at Multicare Good Samaritan Hospital. They have a goal, I think, of raising $10,000. The link to the GoFundMe is in our story that's up on our website, malcontentnews.com. They've raised over $6,000 to date. Look, yes, the medical community deserves our thanks, but they are way past. Let's give them a pizza party. They're way past that. You don't know. I do, because I talk to a lot of people in the medical community, both local, state, and national. They're way past this. You want to help the medical community. You want to show your appreciation. There's 3 things you can do. The first thing you can do is wear a mask. Inside and out. Now, inside if you're outside if you're by yourself, no. But outside if you're in a crowd or you're in a large group, yes, wear a mask. That's number 1. Number 2, if you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated. And number 3, right now, this is right now in this moment. This is not the time to get on your crotch rocket and go, wow, the weather's turning to shit. I want one more 130-mile-per-hour run at 2 a.m. when the police aren't looking. Or I'm going to try skydiving for the first time. No, this is like the Washington State Hospital Association literally said yesterday, please don't do dangerous activities. We are past the point of another COVID patient. It's everything. And what is happening is the state is operating on contingency care. So contingency care means not that your broken leg won't get treated if you fall off a ladder on your house because you're cleaning the gutters before we get to October, but you might sit in an ambulance for 90 minutes in a lot of pain with that broken leg. Then you may get rolled into a hallway and sit there for 4, 6, 8, 12 hours before somebody looks at your broken leg. That's where we're at right now. So you want to help the medical community? I get the intent. I get that Mayor Doerr is doing this from a good place. Mayor Doerr is not intending to do this at all. But I'm telling you, this is going to be like, gee, thanks, to hand out Starbucks gift cards. All right, travel advisories. We've expanded our travel advisories. We have said now for over a week, advising don't travel in Yakima, Clititat, Benton, Franklin, or Walla Walla counties. These are these 5 counties in the South Central hospital region. The reason we're advising don't travel there is that if you were to have a medical emergency, again, it's not about COVID. You have a heart attack, you get in a car accident, you're going on a hike, you fall 40 feet off a ledge or something or slide, and you get a closed head injury, you may not get adequate medical care because that's where the state of those hospitals are. We're expanding that tonight. And what we've done is we've added Spokane County to that tonight because the largest hospitals in Spokane announced earlier today they are canceling all non-emergency surgeries. So basically, if you're in a state of, if you don't get the surgery, you're going to die, then you're going to get the surgery. Otherwise, everything is canceled. So once again, if you're in Spokane County, not COVID, you get in an accident, you have a medical emergency, you may not get adequate medical care. We have Idaho statewide there because they are in crisis standards of care. And we will probably see by the end of the week the Southeast region and the Treasure Valley Hospital regions of Idaho move into crisis standards of care. The conditions there are getting worse. They are not getting better. And the hospital administrators there, the state health officer there today said, they're on the brink of nearly declaring crisis standards of care for the southern half of the state. In addition, we have added Alaska to a travel advisory. Tonight, the largest hospital in Alaska, in Anchorage, has moved to crisis standards of care. If you're not familiar with what crisis standards of care is, this is when people are triaged and medical decisions are based upon a person's ability to survive with the available medical resources they have. So basically the best way to describe it is if there are 2 patients who need, surgery in an ICU bed and but they only have the capacity to do 1. And, they're at Kootenai Health, let's say in Idaho, then what's going to happen is they're going to go through a list that's been predetermined and they're going to decide who's the person that gets the surgery and who's the person that's going to move to comfort care. Comfort care is pain medication and morphine. And if you can hold out on comfort care until available resources come, they may move you over into the red group, meaning that you can go over into that. And that's where things are in Alaska and half of the state of Idaho tonight. In addition, hospital in Bellingham also sounded the alarm today, basically saying that they are moving, practically to the edge there of running out of resources. Now, I'm seeing like a bunch of comments just went by, so I want to catch up here. Friend's father sat in a holding room in ER for almost 32 hours last week for emergency gallbladder. So, yeah, and we're hearing the gallbladder stuff. We're hearing this at multiple hospitals, and the thing is that gallbladder surgery is actually a pretty complicated surgery. And if you have gallstones, or if you have, say, pancreatitis that's starting up because of the problem with your gallbladder, it's excruciating. Like the pain on that's. And to hold off that you're getting there. Dora, very sorry to hear that news. I was thinking about cruise ships today. We're coming to the end of the cruise season. I would say it's like, we're going to do a fall cruise. I would pull the plug. I would pull the plug, or if you're going to do the shore thing. This is not time for zip lining or the helicopter tour or, it pick something light and easy. That's my recommendation there. I want to talk about transfer patients. There was a lot of rage on social media today about transfer patients because a couple of affiliates and news organizations have reported that Washington is still taking transfer patients from out of state. Now, I went back I couldn't watch the WSHA, but I went back and watched it. And there's a really important nuance that has been left out in those news stories. Now, I get the rage. Personally, I'm like, Idaho, you made your own mess. You got a lieutenant governor who is actively spreading misinformation and platforming doctors who have literally no business being doctors. You have a populace that, they're one of the lowest vaccinated states in the country. They're not wearing masks. You got a bunch of people who just think this is a hoax. This is a self-made disaster. But that's not how we roll here in the United States. It's not how we roll. We're not a country. And the other thing you got to remember is if we raise the drawbridge and 4 years from now, we get the big one, we have the 9-0, and then we got to send patients over there, they could very well say that to us. So you got to play the long game. The reality is, yes, we are accepting transfer patients from out of state. We are not accepting transfer patients from out of state anywhere near the volume that we are. And here's a really important thing that got left out that I'm going to call out. In that same press conference, they did say there was a patient that was in a Spokane hospital that went to Idaho. Idaho took the patient. Well, wait a minute. Idaho's in crisis standards of care. Why would Idaho take the patient? Think of it as playing a game of Tetris. And in that moment, that patient in Spokane was the right Tetris piece to drop into an available bed in Idaho. And if that hospital in Idaho was looking at their other options, the person who got that bed from Spokane had a higher survivability chance than somebody who got turned away. And that's what people got to understand. When you get to crisis standards of care, they are deciding who lives and dies. And then they have to go home and sleep like nothing wrong happened and go back and do it tomorrow. It's complete fuckery that we're putting people in this position. And it's totally preventable. And this is why Alaska has a problem, because we normally take, and I've been saying this for a week, we normally take a lot of transfer patients from Alaska. Harborview Medical Center intakes a lot of patients, particularly orthopedic patients, cardiac patients, and burn patients. If you've ever watched The Deadliest Catch, and there's been people who are injured, blah, 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 right? They fly them into Dutch Harbor or whatever, and then they get transferred to Anchorage, and then they're on a hospital plane to Seattle. This happens a lot. And for an example, Providence Hospital in Everett said that they right now have patients from Idaho, Alaska, and Montana, because of course we do. But we were also sending, as I said, our patients to Idaho, and we're sending some patients to Oregon. Everything is really constrained. Now, I've been asked, what about the National Guard? Why can't we use the National Guard? Now, this you can get angry about. The Washington Hospital Association in their press conference said, basically, we've gone to the Washington state government, and we're like, we need the National Guard. And they were told no. Now, I had speculated the reason for no was, if you're in the National Guard and you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're a respiratory therapist, right? National Guard's part-time, not full-time. So then they got a full-time job. They're playing doctor or nurse or respiratory therapist somewhere else. And what had happened in some states, they activated the National Guard in other states, not Washington. And it made things worse because they pulled people out of hospitals that were already working and dealing with the surge of patients and yanked them out. And so that's what I thought. I thought it was, look, we're playing the long game. We're looking at the chessboard. This isn't going to, no. You want to know why we don't, this you can be mad about. You want to know why the National Guard isn't an option? Because they're already deployed. They're deployed to other states. They're deployed to other states to help them with their surge. They're deployed to other states to deal with wildfires and flooding and other climate crisis related incidents. And so we don't have the card to play because they're already being used. And I'm infuriated by that. Just absolutely infuriated by that. And I'm infuriated that Eastern Washington is dragging the whole state down. So then the next question goes, well, what about FEMA strike teams? For instance, Idaho got FEMA strike teams. Oregon got FEMA strike teams. They're bunched down. Yeah, well, guess what? they're all real busy right now too. And we basically have been told, yeah, really can't go to that well because the FEMA medical strike teams have been deployed to other states and surges because we're tardy to the party in the surge game. And then those teams that we thought would be freed up at this point as Florida, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi have hit their peaks, and we don't know about Louisiana because of Ida. Yeah, they basically just had to hang out around there because of because of Ida a couple of weeks ago, and now Nicholas. Stacy, thank you so much for the Venmo. Wow, thank you. We're on our own. We're on our own. We can't send people to Oregon, not in large quantities. We can't send people to Idaho. No, we can only play Tetris, move, one or two pieces. Certainly can't send anyone to Alaska, and generally we wouldn't send anyone to Alaska. We're on our own. And our neighbors are collapsing us. And Eastern Washington is collapsing us. And my brain is going to melt if we go to crisis standards of care because it was only partially self-inflicted by the state of Washington. People have been asking us for numbers for pediatric patients, NICU availability, PICU availability, and we've been saying we've reached out to the state. We haven't heard any. We've heard something. We heard something. It's probably not the answer you want to hear, but which is basically Christmas is coming. The state basically said we didn't set up a dashboard for this because COVID cases wasn't an issue for children previously, which is 100% true and factual. They are like, yeah, we need to do this, and they are working on doing it. They didn't say when we would get it. They also didn't say if it was going to be added to the dashboard, which you could access on the website, or if it would come in a report. But they did say they are working on it. So let me go ahead and do that. Let's talk about back to school real quick. Bellevue, Lake Washington, North Shore School Districts, those are the school districts we focus on. All three now have dashboards. Bellevue and Lake Washington is reporting data differently than North Shore. North Shore has more transparency. Bellevue and Lake Washington is reporting, they're reporting confirmed cases. Bellevue reports quarantines, but it's a little wonky in how they report it. And a lot of people are having questions in how the data is being reported, including us. So let's go through this real quickly. I'm not going to read off all the schools like it's like you're waiting for the snow announcements and you have the day off. I'm just going to go real quick here. Bellevue is status yellow. What does status yellow mean? Status yellow means there are more than 10 confirmed COVID cases within the school district, but less than 10% of the school district, and they do not have any schools or full classrooms that are closed. So their status yellow. Couple of schools reported today with some bigger numbers. Newport Heights with 19 between infection and quarantine, and Spirit Ridge Elementary 23 between confirmed cases and quarantine. Lake Washington School District started a dashboard today. And so we have a lot more insight in how many cases and what schools and where. Kamakin? Am I saying that right? I'm going to get roasted in the comments. Kamakin? I'm just reading your comments real quick. Oh man, the Kent School District. I have Courtney, I'll dig on that. I'm so busy with the real job right now. Kamakin Medical School. If I'm saying that wrong, you can laugh at me in the comments. They're up to 140. It's 24% of the student body that is quarantined. We don't know how many confirmed cases there are, but there's 140 quarantined. Now, understand, quarantine isn't necessarily a bad thing because that is preventing having a community spread and having a spreading incident in a school. And right now, for Bellevue and Lake Washington, there's no evidence to indicate that they're having kind of, a spreading number of COVID cases because of an exposure and a lack of action. So despite the fact we have Lake Washington red, they're under 10%, but you have 140 cases at Kamakin Middle School. And we know that there's entire classrooms that are now remote. And same thing with Mark Twain Elementary. We know there's an entire classroom there that is remote. So technically a closure. That's why they're red. North Shore School District had some more concerning data come out today. They have by far the most transparent dashboard of the three school districts. And the biggest one that kind of jumped out at us today, Kenmore Middle School up to 31 between cases and quarantines, and Skyview Middle School, not to be associated with Skyview Middle or High School in Vancouver. We're talking North Shore School District, 67. The thing that's a little more concerning about North Shore School District, there are 3 schools now that have had 5 or more confirmed COVID cases in those schools. Bothell High School has 7 confirmed cases between students and faculty. Shelton View Elementary has 5 confirmed cases among students, and North Creek High School has 7 confirmed cases among students. So those numbers are a little more. So again, don't panic. It's not panic. It's no time to panic, but just the numbers are a little like, oh. So we'll keep an eye on that. We don't know these schools that have the 5, the 7, and the 7. What we don't know is, because this is in their dashboard, was this because of spread within the school, or are these just, 7 random kids that got COVID at their house or going out, or they went to the Puyallup Fair? I mean, that we don't know. Okay, Pentagon finally released guidance on, get vaxxed or else. Service members have until December. They've got 3 months to be fully vaxxed. If they are not at that point, they will face discharge. They don't have a good grasp on the number of people in the National Guard who are vaccinated, because I guess basically all the states have been doing a really crappy job of tracking it. So the state's got some explaining to do. They have to work that out. There is a report of a Marine. She refused to wear a mask inside a building. She FAFO'd. If you don't know what FAFO'd is, it's we're not a show for impressionable youth. She fucked around and found out, and she was discharged within a week. She got a general discharge under honorable conditions. If you're not familiar, like general discharge is it's not good. Certainly you don't want a dishonorable discharge, but a general discharge is kind of like, okay, can you explain to us what happened here? That's kind of what a general discharge is. Not a good thing to have in your DD 214. The last thing I want to call out, Vladimir Putin has gone to do self-quarantine because he's had, despite being vaccinated, because he has had multiple COVID exposures. It's really ironic to me, and the reason I want to call out the irony is that the Russian government has been called out by multiple governments in Western Europe and in North America for actively spreading COVID misinformation to slow down the adoption of vaccines and undermine the trust in democratic and democratic socialist governments. And it's working. And while Vladimir Putin is doing all this, he's just self-quarantined his happy ass like you should do when you have a COVID. It just hurts the brain. We're almost ending the COVID side of things, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to start talk about Epic software. Generally, I don't come on the air here and go when somebody dies of COVID, because I, for the most part, feel the Schnoder fruit is gross, and I don't want to bring down the wrath of the karma gods. But I'm going to make an exception tonight, because Bob Enyart, preacher out of Colorado, Bob Enyart was just a special kind of awful. Absolute special kind of awful. Bob Enyart was a preacher, past tense. He would gleefully mock the death of AIDS victims, much as, oh my goodness, Rush Limbaugh would do, reading their names off on air. spread a lot of fear and misinformation about AIDS and HIV. I'm seeing a pattern, exaggerating the infectious risk for the general population. He then went on to encourage his listeners not to get any of the 3 of the vaccines because he claimed they were tested on cells of aborted babies, which for the mRNA vaccines is not true. And for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine used a historical fetal cell line that has been produced and manufactured since the 1970s. There's actually kind of an awful and gross story about how those cells, which are being used in perpetuity in lab growth, but there's a gross story, which we won't get into tonight for the interest of time, on how those cells came to be. However, they're not from aborted babies. But anyway, he also sued the state of Colorado and won so that he could have COVID Fest at his church. Well, guess what happened 2 weeks ago? Him and wifey, they both got COVID, and they both got it really bad. There is no information, like, did they go down the ivermectin route? There's no information on that. Well, he died. He died yesterday. And as I said, I don't talk about this stuff. The world's a better place. I'm just going to leave it at there. The world is a better place. North Dakota is a shit show. That's another one now. Hospitals in Fargo are going help, and they're having a similar problem that Idaho is seeing. What's going on in Fargo is they have nowhere to send patients. Minnesota's having their own problem, and Minnesota's kind of like, I know, usually we cleaned up your mess, but not this time. South Dakota's got their own shit show. Colorado's dealing with their own issues. They got nowhere to send their patients. So North Dakota's got a really big problem going on there. Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio says he would issue a statewide mask mandate for kids K through 12 if the legislature hadn't passed a law to prevent him from doing it. If Tennessee was a country, Tennessee would be the 3rd worst country on the planet for new COVID cases. Come on, Tennessee. You can beat. You can do it. You can do it. You can get to number 1, Tennessee. And then the last little one here is parents in Utah are upset because it's taking 7 to 10 days to get notices that, oh, by the way, your child was exposed to COVID at school, because there are so many growing COVID cases in Utah that the labs that do the testing are so backed up that by the time they get the test, it takes 7 to 10 days. And anyway, oh my God. All right. We're gonna lighten it up tonight. We're gonna address 2 pieces of misinformation. If you're not familiar with the show, when we talk about misinformation, I tap dance around certain terms so that the chuds, can't go, spread and see, he said that word. It's misinformation. He's spreading misinformation. And then we get taken off the air. I'm smarter than that, chuds. I want to talk about Nicki Minaj. I want to talk about Nicki Minaj. So Nicki, she sent out a tweet yesterday afternoon. My cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. His testicles became swollen. His friend was weeks away from getting married. Now the girl called off the wedding. So just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. And by the way, she's anti-vax. And that's well established. And I guess she revealed also in the same day or the day before that she's had COVID. And basically, she has said that she's anti-vax because she's afraid of the vaccine. Now, this may have just been an amusing tweet if it wasn't for Tucker Carlson. Because vaccinated, let's not forget that, vaccinated Tucker Carlson, who works at a company that requires vaccine passports to walk into the building, let's not forget that, goes on the air and tells his listeners not to get vaccinated. And he ran with this story last night, as another proof point of the danger. However, of course, there's a problem here. Even if you were to go into the VAERS database, which is a cesspool of self-reported information that is not validated by anybody, you're not going to find my testicles swelled up. Now, you might find it tomorrow because I'm sure there's like, well, we need to start putting this in the VAERS database because then it'll be true. But at least at least earlier today, there was nothing in there about testicles and COVID. Google must look at some of my searches and just go, what the fuck? There's no scientific evidence that the COVID vaccine causes swelling of the testicles. He said testicles.
Yeah, it's just gotten pretty cool. He's not talking about that sciencey stuff now. Testicles. Testicles rule.
However, there is strong evidence that COVID infections cause men to become limp-dicked. Dependent on the Viagra, there is also strong evidence that COVID infections are causing stillbirths and premature births. Premature births defined as less than 37 weeks gestation. There is, however, a medical condition that will make you impotent, have your balls swell up, and have your future mate go, I ain't marrying your ass. And that condition is called gonorrhea. What's going on here is this is a type of misinformation that is called false causality fallacy. Basically, and we see a lot of this, right? You'll see a lot of this. Well, I know a guy who knows a guy, and they got the vaccine, and they died of a heart attack 3 days ago. It's the vaccine's fault. And here you go. I'm drinking Kroger seltzer. Now, if I drop dead five minutes from now on the air, clearly it was the Kroger seltzer that did it. Right? This is false causality. My balls swelled up. It's the vaccine's fault. No, you were putting your dick where it didn't belong fault. Playa. All right. So anyway, no. This will not give you Randy Marsh ball. Apparently, if you put your balls in the microwave, they get really big too, and then you can get medicinal marijuana, according to the show South Park. Please don't put your balls in the microwave. All right, that's the first. We're going to do a twofer from misinformation tonight. First, it was a malaria drug. This was the thing. That was first. Then it was a industrial bleach. Drink this. Then it was the drug I won't mention that is given to horse and sheep and pigs and cows. It's given to people who have parasitic infections or really bad hair lice or scabies. Then it was glyphosate, the herbicide which by itself actually has been used for decades, but it's also a key ingredient in Roundup. Oh no. We found a new rock lair malcontents. This is the new one. Betadine. Beta frickin' dine. Yeah, the stuff that, you know, in the surgery they'll put all over and makes the skin turn yellow because it has iodine in it. It's an antibacterial antiseptic. Betadine. They're drinking betadine. They are gargling with betadine. You're just making that up. No, it's gotten so bad that the manufacturers of betadine were forced yesterday to put an FAQ on their website to explain to people that betadine is not a treatment, preventative, or cure for COVID. That you shouldn't gargle with betadine and you shouldn't drink betadine. If I stroke out right now, it's because of the betadine. That's the causality if I stroke out. It's not the water, it's the betadine if I stroke out right now. They had to put an FAQ on the website to tell people not essentially to drink an iodine antibacterial antiseptic and don't gargle with it. First of all, my hat is off to anybody that can hold a mouthful of betadine and gargle and not throw up. You are a better human being than me. That's friggin' impressive. So that's number one. But here's the other thing. Drinking betadine is toxic. That's number one. It can make you really sick if you drink too much of this stuff. But no. You just need to do a microdose, right? Because somewhere out there, someone's selling this bullshit. You just do a little bit. Iodine is accumulative. Yes, our body needs very tiny amounts of iodine. That's why we have iodized salt. Iodine, though, if you take more of it, is cumulative. And there is... This was just, oh my God, if you've ever been in the military, if you've ever done any hiking or backpacking, if you lived in an era where you carried iodine-based purification tablets for water, you were all warned. Don't chug these friggin' things because it'll screw up your thyroid, male or female. Just people, for the love of God. I'm not going to get that FDA-approved vaccination, but I'm going to go ahead and eat malaria pills, drink some chemical bleach, go to Tractor Supply and self-medicate myself with heartworm pills. Then I'm going to go ahead and drink some Roundup. And finally, I'm going to gargle with betadine. Then I'm going to go to this Boss Babes website. I'm going to take vitamin C, D, zinc, and this colon cleanse it gave me. I don't know why I'm shitting myself inside out, and I'm all dehydrated now. I know why that's happening. It's because all of the spike proteins that are shitting off of the vaxxed people. That's the problem. I hate it here. Oh my God. They have a version of it that's a mouse rinse. They do have a version of it that is, but people aren't. They're drinking it. I hate it here. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about Epic Software next. I said there's a lot we have to cover tonight. We're going to go ahead and talk about Epic Software. So what's happening here? We're still waiting for the full meal deal from Anonymous, and I'm not gonna go ahead and I'm waiting for somebody else to go there. And we're still kind of waiting for the rest of the data. Now, what's going on is there are a growing number of news organizations that are starting to pick up this story. I'm just kind of looking at the real headlights right now. One of the things I'm reading right now is there are people out there deleting their Epic accounts based on this. There was one particular awful right-wing site that exists just for the doxing of people. The person that owns that website 6 hours after the Anonymous announcement was like, yeah, you know what? I don't manage that site anymore. I just gave it to this person a couple of days ago, and now it's their problem. And the person who mentored me to do all of this, he was murdered. Maybe it was Anonymous who did it. Total deflection BS. People that have shit on Epic are scared. What do we know? Let's try to see if this has legs or not. We know that the TexasGOP.org website got hacked on Saturday. One of the things it's on our Facebook page. I will say this, and I didn't realize because I didn't scroll down. We have a link to what it was on the Wayback Machine. And apparently, if you scroll down, there's some gnarly stuff. Don't look at it at work. Don't look at it with kids in the room. If you go to the Wayback Machine to look at what it was, it's up on our Facebook page. Anyway, that website that they hacked, that Anonymous hacked, yeah, their DNS is Epic. So we have the hack and the defacing of a Texas GOP website because of the anti-abortion bill that was passed there on the 11th. Then we have this announcement on the 13th. We've got everything, 10 years on Epic. Then we have Rob Monster, who's the CEO of Epic, kind of doing the no, you don't got. God, I hope they don't got. Like kind of doing, this thing in his tweets. I know that Rob Monster was blocking people that in Twitter were, asking him questions, which is generally not a good sign, especially where someone like Rob Monster actually enjoys kind of doing the to poke back, but he does it in sea lion. He's an expert sea lion. And he likes doing that. And of course, he wraps himself in the warm, fuzzy blanket of, I'm protecting the First Amendment. Then we've had one investigative reporter come out and say today, and we have a story up about that. Another thing that has come up is there's a website that was set up. This story grew deeper this afternoon. And we have it up there, which is the CA fraud report. Gosh darn, I'm getting the thing. I'm going to get it right here. Give me a second. I have to go look at my own story. It's the California Recall website. This story is kind of gnarly here, right? So they have set up the Larry Elder campaign set up a website called Stop CA. CA is the abbreviation for California Fraud.com. NBC News reported that this website existed, and what Larry Elder, who is trying to get, he's the front runner in trying to get Gavin Newsom recalled. I haven't seen the election results, so I don't know what's going on there right now because polls closed at 8. We went on the air at 8. NBC had a lot of questions, and one of the questions was, there's no disclaimer in here as who's behind the website, and then. Yeah, guess who's behind the red site? Larry Elder is behind the website. And they added that disclaimer that's on there. Guess where that website's hosted? Yeah. Stop CA Fraud is hosted on Epic. Now, an independent journalist, investigative journalist, who has a lot more followers than me, her name is Heidi Kuda. Heidi Kuda made the claim today that in the anonymous data that has come out, that stopcafraud.com has already been pre-populated with fake affidavits of fraud in the California recall election. And all of that was put in there before they flipped the switch and turned on the website to go live. And Larry Elder has already been making claims. He made claims yesterday that there was already data that showed that there was fraud and voting irregularity in the elections results for California, which, of course, there's a big, huge problem. The elections today, there hasn't been any results. Nobody said that Larry Elder was smart. But wait, there's more. I got bonus material for you, malcontents. Are you ready to have your... So somebody linked to me a thread, and they had receipts on Twitter. And I didn't have time to write this up, but I did have time to go look at it before we went on the air and look at this and go, ooh, they got receipts. It turns out that Stop CA Fraud is practically identical in every way to websites that were set up in Nevada and Georgia and a couple other states. I mean, like, not identical to they look the same. No, deeper than that. Guess who was behind those other websites? A certain attorney. A certain attorney who goes by the name of Lynn Wood. Now, Lynn Wood is not supposed to be involved in any of these activities right now because, of course, he is fighting for his career life to continue to be an attorney. And what's interesting is while Sidney Powell kept doubling down on crazy in Michigan, Lynn Wood kind of went into that court and was like, yeah, I kind of screwed. I mean, I'm paraphrasing heavily, but Lynn Wood, when all this got dragged into court in Michigan, was kind of like, yeah, I kind of screwed up, guys. Can we just forget this? I'm sorry. So, where Sidney Powell is just self-destructing like Mike Lindell. Lynn Wood and Larry, what a shock. Just what a shock. So we're still waiting for the unpackaging and what's there. One of the things that was released in this, hey, here is information. Anonymous did kind of release a couple of tidbits in their quote unquote press release on 4chan. Oh, hey, we got receipts, right? We got receipts. You can go ahead and do this. You can see some stuff, got some receipts. And I understand some people did go do that stuff and confirm like, oh no, this looks legit. And again, we're getting trickles of information. And then when you go back to what happened on Saturday, it's looking legit. My understanding is I've heard two different numbers. I've heard 35 gigabytes. I've heard 180. So I don't know if it's 180 gigabytes. That's a lot to unpack and to turn into something for a package that journalists and researchers, investigators can go goody and get their hands on. If this is legit, thousands of people and businesses that are attached to misinformation websites, QAnon websites, hate websites, white nationalist websites, websites that advocate for domestic terrorism. Winter is coming. Winter is coming. And the other thing is, if this is legit, Rob Monster, Epic Software, has resisted and ignored requests for information regarding criminal investigations. If all this stuff blows up, just big trouble. Even if it's 25% of what they claim, this is flippin' delicious. The Candace Owens, Larry Elder crossover. Oh, Candace Owens, like she claimed she had receipts. Remember, she's thinking that people like me are going to let people like you forget about what happened in Aspen, Colorado, and her claiming that the private testing facility that she asked for concierge service because she didn't want anybody to know she was actually getting a COVID test. She says, yeah, she accused them of getting federal funds. You remember all that? She's like, Health and Human Services has been notified. Stay tuned. Yeah, it was all bullshit. None of it was friggin' true. Drinking problem. Thank you. 168 GB. Yeah, no surprise that Newsom was going to win that, which of course is why the political right have been trying to pull out the long knives. I decided to run with the Stop CA fraud story because I want to get in front of that story because it's not chasing clout. It gives the truth an opportunity if Larry Elder really starts playing this card. And when the data comes out in a couple of days, if Heidi Kuda's claims are completely verified, then it's like, no, this wasn't made up. This was in the wild before the election was closed. That's why he did it. No, Epic is worse. Epic is 8chan, Gab, Parler, the Stormfront. What's real interesting is Rob Monster got very, very upset on Twitter today. And I never hosted neo-Nazi. He got upset about that. Patriot.win, BitChute. 8chan is QAnon Central. The pro-life whistleblower, the Texas website, prolifewhistleblower.com. What's interesting is prolifewhistleblower.com was so reprehensible that even Epic Software said, yeah, no. So the other thing, Mel, let me explain what Epic Software is. Epic Software is a DNS registrar and a host provider. Now, I just rattled off a whole bunch of websites, and that doesn't mean that those websites that I rattled off use Epic as a host provider. I would actually say certainly sites like Parler, Gab, they weren't using them as a host provider. We know that Pro-Life Whistleblower wasn't using them as a host provider. So let me explain what a DNS registrar is. Right, I'm sitting here right now. Now I have a latitude and longitude. Right, you think of the globe, you got latitudes, the lines that go this way. You got longitudes, the lines that go that way, and we can have a latitude and a longitude, and we have in latitude and longitude you have minutes and seconds, which get really, really accurate. And if we were, say, in Antarctica and we wanted to navigate to a specific point, because there's no roads, there's no trails, we would use latitude and longitude. But we don't use latitude and longitude every day because it'd be really painful to remember. This address is at 132 degrees, 37 minutes, 26 seconds north. And it's at, right? That's a really painful way to remember addresses. So instead, we have 100 Main Street. So if you think of the internet, that latitude and longitude, it's not a one-to-one, but it's kind of like an IP address. Websites have an IP address. And it is there's IPv4, there's IPv6. I don't want to overcomplicate this. The IP address is essentially 4 numbers from 0 to 255 separated by dots. So 4 sequences of numbers, 3 digits from 0 to 250. I'm oversimplifying. And you could go to a website. If you knew their IP address, you could type in that IP address and that website would load up. Like a website like CNN has an IP address, as an example. That's a really hard way to remember websites. So instead of 100 Main Street, we have malcontentnews.com. Malcontentnews.com gets registered with a domain registry. And that domain registry then says malcontentnews.com points to this IP address. And I'm oversimplifying. I know that I have a technical audience, and I know I'm oversimplifying, but I just don't want to get into all the nuances here. So then you don't have to remember an IP address to get to malcontentnews.com. You just have to remember malcontentnews.com. So that's what a DNS is, registrar. If you don't have a registrar, a DNS registrar, you can't then have a URL pointing somewhere. And so when you're running I almost said shit. Freudian. When you're running a site, say like Gab, which is heavily used by the Proud Boys, or Parler, which I don't know, like who the hell's using Parler? Like you don't even hear about Parler anymore, right? Or if you're running a site like Parler, this is why Parler went off the air. Nobody would give them an IP address. There was and Epic became their DNS registrar. They gave him the address. So if you look at something like prolifewhistleblower.com, Epic was like, yeah, no. So right now that website redirects to a different IP, which is just some general Texas pro-life website, and they're not gathering any information there. If you're a host, the host provider actually then provides all the servers where the website lives. And so Epic does both. But most of what they do in the high profile stuff is providing that domain registry. And look, we probably have a lot of new people watching tonight. And I've said before in the past, like if you've watched me for a long time, you know I've defended Brandy Cruz. I've defended Katie Davis Court. I've defended other right-wing journalists. I defended on the principle of journalists are no go. You don't do that. Now, of course, I don't agree with Katie Davis Court at all. I don't agree with Brandy Cruz on 99%. I think maybe 1 in 100 times it's like, okay, I'll give her that. I'll give her that. she got a W there. I'll give her that. 99th. I would actually say 2.5 years ago, I might have actually gone 50-50. She just racing the right because she wanted that full-time job at Fox News. I mean, she technically works for News Corp Fox News. She just wants the full-time job at Fox News. I digress. I'm a big supporter of the First Amendment. But at what point does the First Amendment become screaming fire in a crowded movie theater? And I think that we as a society, not just in the United States, globally, are really struggling in the 25, 30-ish years that average slobs like us have had right? Because the internet technically was around the late 60s. Average slobs like us haven't had access to the internet starting about 30-ish years ago. Don't get pedantic on me. It's all moved so fast. I mean, I remember when I first got my fingers on the internet, like the real internet, in 1994. 1994. I got my hands on the real internet using Netscape version 1.4. I'm feeling old now. I remember my thought is like, this is going to change the world for the better. We're going to share ideas. We're going to have information. Every person on the planet has a Gutenberg printing press now. Imagine what could be shared. Because I was so naive, so innocent in thinking that it wouldn't be used for evil. And I really wrestle with social media. I've said on here so many times, I hate Facebook. Facebook is evil. I hate TikTok. TikTok is fucking evil. These platforms are awful, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if anybody knows how to fix it. But I do know that people like Rob Monster, who wraps themselves up in a warm, fuzzy blanket of First Amendment rights, while platforming websites that advocate unaliving yourself. And yes, they do platform a really gross website that actively advocates and shares information strictly for informational and support purposes only on how to yeet yourself. One of the mods or admins, can you go ahead and drop the suicide hotline number, please, in the chat? Because anytime we talk about yeeting and unaliving, I always want to bring it up, especially for our veterans. I know our veterans are having a really, really, really hard time right now. If you are feeling really low, really depressed, and I'm really talking to our vets, just, I'm going to say it again, not your fault. Not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You couldn't change the outcome. You went there, you had a job, did your job as best as you could. It's just random chance. You came back, others didn't. It's just roll the dice. And that's it. Their body, their flesh was literally at the wrong place at the wrong time. Mathematics. Yours wasn't. Yours was at the right place at the right time. And you have to live with that. But if you are feeling broken, there's help. 1-800-273-8255. 24 hours. 1-800-273-8255. Get help. And platforming sites like that are gross. Platforming white national sites are gross. Platforming sites where people actively planned seditious insurrection against the U.S. government is certainly not protected by the First Amendment or free speech in any definition of what our founding fathers intended. So anyway, that's who Rob Monster is. That's what's going on in the Epic story. Another breaking news. It literally was just popping up, but it's on the ticker. The DOJ, Department of Justice, seeked an emergency order to block the Texas abortion law. Don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but that's what they did. Oh, thank you so much for putting that there. One thing I just want to check real quick, because I always like to put a shout out. Susanna, thank you for the Venmo also. Wow. Wow. You love me. You guys really, really love me. And you love the team. Go ahead and spam those hearts. I haven't said that yet tonight. Spam those hearts. Spam those hearts. Let our mods and admins know that you really appreciate them. If you're watching on YouTube, not YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, you can go ahead and spam those hearts. If you're watching on Twitch, you can use our emotes if you're a subscriber. We've really started ignoring Twitch because Twitch is just, that's its own special cesspool of social media freaking problems there too. And if you're on YouTube, there you go. Jonathan just did it the right way. I was just going to say, they don't give you any fancy way to do there. As all of you have already let me know in your comments and in your chat, Gavin Newsom, like there was any friggin' question about this, he is one out of that. Oh, here's a grim headline in the COVID news. 1 out of every 500 Americans have now died from COVID. Well, that's not a lot. That's like in 19 freaking months. It's a lot of friggin' people. Norm Macdonald, I know, controversial guy. His brand of comedy, the older he got, became more and more an acquired taste. I'm a sarcastic asshole. I'll freely admit that on the air. And I always loved Norm's sarcastic delivery. He just brought sarcasm to a whole new level. And so Gen X, you were like, well, I don't know. If you're a millennial, you would know Norm Macdonald. Norm Macdonald. He was the voice of Pigeon, right? In Mike Tyson Mysteries, right? Wasn't that Norm Macdonald? Yeah, because some of the things that he said, Dora, some people, he was he the, thank you, Omar, and I agree. Sarcastic assholes of the country unite and fight against the machine. Wasn't he the voice of Pigeon in Mike Tyson's Mysteries? I'm 99% sure he was. And he's just like, oh, he just did not. He did what? Because Pigeon was like a totally perverted pigeon. If you haven't seen Mike Tyson, if you have never watched Mike Tyson Mysteries, oh my God, the show is amazing. It's so, Jason, thank you for that. That show is amazing. First of all, it's Mike Tyson. Like it's the real Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson is making fun of himself, and I have mad respect for people who can make fun of themselves. And Mike Tyson makes fun of himself and his character and who he is. It is just amazing. And then Norm Macdonald, he has a team. They solve mysteries. The show is a complete spoof of Scooby-Doo. It is like a brutal skewering of Scooby-Doo. And instead of a dog, they have Pigeon. And Pigeon is this really perverted pigeon voiced by Norm Macdonald. The show is nuts. It's only 15 minutes. Go catch 15 minutes of there. Let's see, a bunch of bullshit going on about AOC's dress. We're not going to talk about that. Hey, climate change isn't real, Texas, right? Not real. No such thing as climate change. There's no global warming. That's why it got down to 0 degrees and we had no electricity and over 1,000 people died because there's no climate change. That was perfectly normal. And we're not going to spend any money hardening our electrical grid to keep this from happening. Well, Houston is having another once in 1,000-year flood. I've kind of lost count. I don't know if this is like their 10th or 11th once in 1,000-year rain event since 2017. And don't forget, our freaking National Guard troops, which could be going to bail out our friggin' hospitals, are in the South right now cleaning up their friggin' mess. There's something you could be pissed about. Oh, wait a minute. On the subject of what a steaming pile of trash social media is, Facebook officials knew Instagram can have negative mental health impact for teens. Researchers who work for the social media giant found that some of the problems were specific to Instagram and not social media as a whole, specifically to teens. 32% of teen girls said that when they felt bad about their bodies, Instagram made them feel worse. Shocked, I tell you, shocked. Aren't you shocked? Oh my God. I think we've kind of covered everything. Seattle COVID testing sites have done 1 million COVID tests. Not like in a day, like since all of this started. There was some kerfuffle. There was some kerfuffle with a high school in the Lake Washington School District. People were upset over like they canceled some thing over 9/11, and apparently a couple of right-wing websites blew it up. And there's some letter that went out. I'm just addressing this. And I know people, like, I got several messages, people forwarded like, do you know anything about this? And I'm like, no. And I like went on Twitter and I like went like on Googled it and I'm like, what the hell is this? Couldn't find anything. So I'm just figuring a few people got their whatever. Yes, Rex. Winter is coming. The fall machine, it's fall, is coming early this year. And in some ways that's a good thing, because it's going to help over in Eastern Washington. By the way, smoke was so bad in Eastern Washington last week, which is why, like, for instance, I just realized this. Yakima County's positivity plummeted. Oh, I just realized this. Yakima County's COVID positivity numbers really declined. In particular, it was one that jumped out at me. They were over 1,000. They dropped actually below 800. I was like, remember, that's a rolling average, 14-day rolling average. I'm like, wow, that's a big drop. No, it's not good. It's not good. I just realized something. First of all, in those 14 days, you got the Labor Day weekend. So you have a dip in there. But here's the second thing. Last week, smoke was so bad that testing sites in Yakima County, the outdoor ones, had to close. There was a story, and we shared that. I just realized that. So Yakima is probably more of a steaming pile, because they have the weekend and they have the other. Oh, yeah, we got, well, we'll talk more about that on we got September to talk about that. We've been going for an hour and a half here. They're going to be doing, we'll talk on Thursday about the Justice for J6 rally. And, it's interesting. There's a ton of chatter, but I'm starting to see some more chatter from the right wing, like, it's a trap. They're going to trap you and make it all fake news again if you go there. Antifa's planning to burn the Capitol ground and blame it on us, so don't go. Yeah, okay. If it was Antifa, they would have worn masks. They would have worn masks. Antifa wears masks. That's one. The second reason we know it's not Antifa, if it was Antifa, when they got like pepper sprayed, they wouldn't be, they pepper sprayed me. Hardcore Antifa would just be like, you son of a bitch. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another? We ain't allergic to spice. Wait a minute. He didn't just say what I think he just did he? Ha ha! That's right. I'm a proud member of Antifa. I hate fascists, just like my father did. He hated fascists too. That's kind of like the next thing that happened. The next thing is if it was Antifa, they wouldn't have shown up there without respirators and gas masks and eye protection, which is part of the reason they wouldn't be. Antifa doesn't spread shit, literally, in the hallways and on furniture. I never saw the yes, I'm going to go take a shit on the floor thing in anything that I covered in a protest. If that was Antifa, if they got inside of the Capitol, people would have literally just sat on the floor at that point and just be like, all right, now you're going to have to drag us out and make it look really bad. There's so many reasons we know it's not. Oh, the other thing is, if it was Antifa, by January of 2021, cops are camera, baby. Antifa is it like, hi, look at me. I'm here. Look. That's Nancy Pelosi's desk right behind me. I can take a picture. I mean, I get it. We would bitch because we would see people. Every now and then there'd be somebody in block when they would chase off the independent press. We don't want you here. And then we'd be like, oh, great. Here's a person Instagram and block putting up pictures of people in block, but they don't want a citizen leaf blower. Rex just nailed it. There'd been a whole bunch of, that's right. There'd be leaf blowers. There'd be shields. There'd be leaf blowers. Just anyway. Oh, judge are tourists. Love my, it's just, thank you, Dora. I love it too. Patriots got Swifty. I totally get it, Joy. By the way, season 5 Rick and Morty season finale. Like, holy crap. They put a bow on stuff that was revealed in 2 episodes of season 1, 1 episode of season 3. And a little bit of some stuff that was on season 4. They just put a huge bow on it. And I got to say that my mind was blown when it's revealed that Rick's origin story, which was shown all the way in first episode of season 3, right? That's first episode of season 3, that his origin story was true. Like it was just, like we're just going to spell it out for you. It's been obvious the whole time. Oh my goodness. Patreon, blah, 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 blah. All right. I'm sorry. Well, 5 seasons in. If you just haven't started, you're 5 seasons in. All right. I think we've kind of covered everything that we're going to cover tonight. By the way, I just want to put word out. I was at the Jewish World Domination meeting, of which I'm a proud member of as a Jew. We meet once a week. And I have requested to be on station for the Jewish space laser, which has already been repositioned to be in geosynchronous orbit over Washington, D.C. on Saturday. I've probably already said too much. But, if you're planning to go there to the Capitol, you might want to keep your eyes looking up. My understanding is that they're planning to put up a fence. They're going to put up the temporary fence again based on the intel they have. I think it's a very bad idea. I disagree with the fence. What I think they should do is put up a bunch of no trespassing signs and then put landmines in the lawn and just let nature take its course from there. I think that would be a much, much better solution to the problem, but that's just me. If I was in charge, that's what I would do.
Well, can't make me wear a mask, not going to get me a vax, and I'm not paying no attention to this friggin' no trespassing sign. Let's go. Who's with me?
It would be epic. Just would be. Jewish space lasers. I've said too much. I don't know. I guess I'm probably going to be depressed. Huh? Am I going to be depressed? I'm going to be depressed, aren't I? What's going on here? Yeah, tie game, 7-7. Sox aren't pulling this one out. They're just friggin' not. I think the Red Sox season, like literally, I think it dies tonight. Dies in Seattle. Oh, they're only a half back. I guess Toronto lost a game. Red Sox have dropped 2 in a row. They'll probably make it 3 in a row tonight. And the Mariners are moving up. Totally. I wouldn't become a Freemason if you got down on your knees and begged me. Sorry, I was a little on edge there. I think we've covered everything that we're going to cover tonight. Be good to each other. As I like to close, my new thing, like kind of closing the shows, is wear a mask, get vaxxed, give a crap. Back to our regular night on Thursday. Malcontent out. Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with 3 key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
You fit the profile. You're the malcontent.
Nobody wants to hear the nonsensical ravings of a loudmouth malcontent.
He said malcontents Antifa, fuck you!
You are the biggest hypocrite on the face of the planet.
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I